Hey guys, what's up? It's Johnson Fan here today, and I'm showing you, normally I don't do this, but I want to show you, um, my Darlington setup. So go over to Darlington and put in preset qualifying, and put these numbers in. Pause the video if you have to. And for those of you who can't see, I'm going to read it out anyway, and I'm also going to get it closer. And I also want to add the fact that, like, my fastest time with this setup's a 2681, and that's pretty good at Darlington, especially for this game. But another thing I want to add to this whole conversation here is that when you are putting in a setup, or you're trying to find a setup that works for you, the best advice that I can give to you would be, like, for example, this right here works for me. This right here may not work for you. I mean, because, for example, I like a looser race car than most people do. Okay? That's what I mean by, like, this may not work for you. Anyway, every adjustment within this setup category does something. And I want to go over what I think is important and what you should really be focused on the most. A track like Darlington, there's 4 turns, obviously. They're banked 25 degrees. 1 and 2 is you can run full throttle, and if you have the right setup, you can run full throttle in 1 and 2. 3 and 4, you can't run full throttle. You have to reach a pretty good amount of braking, and you want to be doing about 155 in the middle of the turn, about 161, 162 on exit. But there's adjustments within each adjustment category and what it does. So I want to go over that. If you look at the balance, okay, right here you're going to see wedge and bias. There's front bias, and then there's left bias. Okay, the front bias, that doesn't do anything, really. I don't really notice much of a thing that the front and the left bias does, but if you want to know what it does, it works along with the wedge to tighten the car. The wedge basically is tightening the front end of the car more so than anything. The front and rear sway bar. The rear sway bar, I don't really know. The front sway bar, so it turns better. So the rear sway bar, I guess, would be contradicting the turning. I don't know. I've never touched it. Like, there's really no point. So the more up you go, the better the car's going to turn. However, you can't make it go up too much because you'll get loose and you'll spin out. I mean, I've seen dudes that drive a Tokyo drifting car, but I mean, I personally can't do that. My driving style is personally, I believe that my driving style is similar to my friend Deer Killer because he likes to race car like I do. However, I've gave setups, and like I said, yo, set your wedge here, set your track bar here, to other friends, and they've just been like, what the fuck, dude? They're spinning out, they're getting sideways. Cautions are coming out and shit because they can't drive it. And I mean, it's okay. I mean, if driving a loose car is not your thing, it doesn't mean you're bad. It just means that if you can't drive a loose car, it's just not your type of thing. You know, and then again, I've seen dudes with looser cars than me that I can't drive like them. It's all, when you're finding a setup, you gotta play with it. You gotta find out what you need, what you want to get out of the car, how's your driving style, how do you want the car to handle. So my best advice to you is, if you're trying to find your own personal setup for any track, would be to go on that track, run a few practice laps, and study what the car's doing. Is it loose? Is it good? Is it tight off exit? Is it loose on entry? Is it loose off exit? Is it losing grip in the middle of the turn? Is it slowing down? Is it speeding up? What is it doing? How's it handling over the bumps? You want to adjust your car accordingly to that. You want to try to make it as fast as possible, because every turn's a little bit different at every track. But anyway, steering lock, I don't really know much about that. I'm personally a mechanic, but I don't know anything about steering lock. I never touch that. Grill tape, that's how much grill tape you have on the front of your car. I keep that low. Brake bias, front brakes. I actually think that this is one of the things that is often overlooked. And what I mean by that is that it's important, because the more you see that number right there, it's 55. It can go all the way down to 50, and I think it can go down more than that. But you have to work that around the track and how much your driving style. Like I said, your driving style. How much brake do you use in the turns? Personally, Darlington, to me, is a heavy braking track in 3 and 4, because you do have to press the brakes a pretty good amount. So I don't want, the lower you go, the more spongy it's going to be. I mean, like, you're going to press the brake, the less it's going to react. You put it up to like 74, 71, which is about the highest it goes, it's going to just fucking stop on a dime. Alright? So you got to play with that, find out what you like. So tracks at like Martinsville, you're going to want a higher brake bias, because, you know, you got to stop quicker. Versus tracks like Darlington, to where you do have to stop quick, but not too quick. You're going to want to try to meet it somewhere in the middle there. And then tracks in Michigan, to where I use little to no brake at all, you're just going to want to fucking make it as spongy as possible. And why is that important? Because when you apply the correct amount of braking force, you don't want to brake too little, you don't want to brake too much. Ride height. Ride height, that's important, because it's what it is. There's front right, there's rear left, and there's rear right. The ride height is basically gonna it's gonna be an aerodynamic thing, how the air flows around the car, underneath the car. I have a general rule to lower the ride height in the front and raise it in the right rear as much as I can, or on the right, per se. And the reason why that is because I want the car to dive in there more. It's going to dive into the turn more. And then the back end needs to be high, because it's going to take a little bit of the grip out coming back, but it's also going to push you out of the turn. Bump. Bump isn't really as important as most things are. It is a little bit important, though. Bump is basically going to be the bump in the turns. Like, let's say there's a lot of bumpy tracks here. Let's say Sonoma, because that's a bumpy track. Let's say Darlington. Darlington's a bumpy track. You know, for those bumpy tracks, Homestead's bumpy. For those bumpy tracks, the higher your bump, the more forgiving it's going to be over the bumps. Like, the less it's going to slow down, the less it's going to lose control, stuff like that. Rebound is going to be how much it comes back from that. Okay? Spring, that, like I said, that's a tightening and loosening thing. It's going to be how much the springs will bounce in the corners when the car is moving. When it's like coming from the turn to the straightaway, because the actual angle that the car's handling is going to shift. And that's going to help with that. So the more you up that, the faster it's going to do that. But you don't want to do it too fast, and it'll cause the car to become loose traction. And it'll become hard to handle. Alright, track bar. Everyone knows what that does. Track bar, that's the rear of the car. How free the rear of the car is, how much it swings around. The higher the track bar, the more it's going to swing around in the rear. A rubber. Alright, most people don't know this. But a left rubber and a rear rubber, there's a difference, and it's important. The right rear rubber is what that's going to do. That's going to make the car to where on exit it's going to have a little bit more grip, and it's going to like prevent it from coming on the wall. That's important, but the rear left rubber is going to let you drive it down in there more too, so that's also important. You can add both, or you can add neither one, it depends. Tires. Tire pressure is important, because that's about how the car is going to grip the track. Like, some tracks call for lower tire pressures than others. I'm running low tire pressures at Darlington because I feel like I need that extra grip. Like if it's a track that needs just grip or it's a flat track, I usually run lower tire pressure. Super speedways, I don't really mess with my tire pressure. But I mean, you gotta play around with that. There's a handling characteristic to that too. Okay, camber, caster, and toe. Camber, if you don't know, it's like how the wheel sits. For example, if you have a wheel that's sitting straight up and down, let's say you tilt it. Use it like this. Use it as a banking example. Okay, a banking example. There's a degree thing to it. And you're going to want to change that. I mean, even if you're going to change it at all, it's going to be according to the adjustments of the track. So you can get as much tire on the damn track as possible. Like, let's say you're moving it in. You're moving the camber in, then you're going to have it going negative. You're going to have it pointing to the left, tilting to the left. So it's going to be tilting like this. Alright? Tilting to the right, it's like this. And that's kind of important because it's going to be the grip on the car. Here's a caster. Caster is going to be the forwardness of the tire or the backwardsness of the tire. That's not really as much important as camber and caster. That's more of a centering thing. But you can play around with that too. The front toe adjustment and rear toe adjustments, personally, I don't really mess with those, but if you want to, it's going to be how much the tire's in like this. Camber, caster, toe. Alright? Toe. That's going to be the facing in or out. I mean, there's not really much I can say about anything else, but I'm going to show you my fastest lap here. But yeah, man, you just gotta... I've been practicing at Darlington. I personally don't run setups in my league, but I've been practicing at Darlington because I think that just getting the practice, and there's things you can change on pit road too, because I don't run setups in my league, I run only pit road setups in my league. And if you don't know what that is, that's like changing stuff about the car that you can change on pit road: wedge, track bar, you know, spring rubber, stuff like that. And that's important as well as all the other stuff. All this other stuff, they work together too to make the car handle quicker, slower, looser, tighter. You know, it's all on how you want to drive the car, really. I mean, like, personally, I have only ran like 3 laps. So you can see right there. You know, I'm going to stop on the backstretch so I can slow you in. You don't want to hit the wall like I did, by the way. I'm not really paying attention, but still. Personal best. See? I know I haven't had a lot of good laps this run, but I've also been not really caring either, if you will. Haven't really been trying. I have... In order to get a good lap on Darlington, you have to get all the turns right. You got to get everything. Everything's got to line up. You got to have good brakes. You got to have... fresh tires on here are golden, too. That's another thing that you got to be aware of. It's all on your entry too to the turns. Like right there, that bump. See, it's more forgiving there. But anyway, I mean, that is pretty much it for this video. Nothing else for me to say. Nothing else for me to do. Anyway. So, have fun out there. Do your best, and see you later. That's it. I'm out. Peace.